The NFL season is a couple weeks away, which means that fantasy football season is also a couple weeks away. And if you're like me and you have a late draft, you're about a 1 week from drafting your team, and you need to know what players not to draft and to stay away from. So I'll be going through that list today. I'm going to be talking about my bearish players, the players I have low hopes for this season. So I'll start out with Matthew Golden. Now, this list is about fantasy football, not the actual player that these players will be in the NFL this season. So Matthew Golden, I think he'll be a great player. I think he'll be really fun to watch. He'll be a great receiver for the Packers. But we've seen over the last couple years, the Packers, they don't really seem like they want a true number one guy. Now, I know they drafted a first-round wide receiver, and that's crazy for the Packers, but I don't think they're going to change their way of play and their offense just for their first-round pick. Jordan Love and the Packers, they like to throw it around to a lot of different targets. Last year I had Jaden Reed, and I was so mad because Romeo Doubs starts crying, and I think he actually literally cried. I'm not sure, but I know he was very mad and had some sort of outlash with the coaches, and he got a lot more targets, and Reed's targets went down, and it was just everyone got targets, right? So that's how it's going to be again this year. Don't expect Matthew Golden to be a number one wide receiver, have number one wide receiver type numbers with the Packers. Now next up, Christian McCaffrey. Now I know you're thinking, man, 2 years ago when I had him, he was so good for me. He was the best player in the league. He was the best in fantasy football. But I hate to break it to you. I hate to do it, but we need to be realistic here. I'm sorry, but we have to be bearish on McCaffrey. That means you do not draft McCaffrey this year. I mean, if you draft him in like the 6th round or something, depending on how big your league is, I'll take it. But besides that, please stay away from him. He's probably not going to play the whole year. Even if he is, you cannot expect him to be the same player that he was. And it kind of hurts me because now I'm thinking about Nick Chubb, one of my favorite Browns players of all time. But when these players sustain these tough injuries that keep them out for long periods, they don't come back the same. And McCaffrey has sustained so many injuries, he's not going to be the same, and he's probably not going to play the whole season this year. So stay away from Christian McCaffrey. Now next up, Tyreek Hill, one of my favorite players to watch. I want him to have a great year. I drafted him last year, but I regretted it so much. I'm not doing it again this year. I'm staying away. The Dolphins' offense is not trustworthy. Tua is definitely not trustworthy. And he's probably going to get hurt like McCaffrey. Tua is. And we've seen that last year the Dolphins were not ready for that at all. And they didn't seem to have an urgency to win when he wasn't there. So I'm out on Tyreek. And then last year when he said he wanted out, and it seems over the offseason that relationship with Tua did not get better at all, or with the team, he was tweeting cryptic tweets all the time. And Tua even said it himself that they have to rebuild that relationship. But that doesn't sound good to me. I'm not risking it on a receiver where the quarterback is not even friendly with him and the receiver is saying he wants out. Tyreek, he's not going to be as good as he was just as he gets older. And on top of that, it seems like things are not going good. The Dolphins are falling apart. So I'm staying away from Tyreek, even though I would love it if he has a great year. He's one of my favorite players ever that I've ever watched when he is playing his best. And then I'm going to bundle these two players together, Saquon and Jamar Chase. Now I'm putting these two players together. I don't know what's going on. I'm putting these two players together because they're both kind of seen as the number one guys last year, right? Saquon, anyone you ask is probably going to say Saquon was the best running back last year and Jamar Chase was the best receiver. And in fantasy, they were both ranked very high last year, no matter what type of rules you had no matter what type of rules you had, no matter what app you used, they were both going to be right around that top 3. So I think people are forgetting, though, that every year it seems like everyone just says, who was the best last year? Okay, well, Christian McCaffrey was the best last year. He's got to be the number one pick this year. A couple years before that, Jonathan Taylor, he's got to be the number one pick this year. It's not just who was the best last year. I mean, you cannot expect Saquon and Jamar Chase to just be right back where they were last year. And I'm not saying that to completely stay away from them like the other players I mentioned. I mean, if they fall a little bit, get them. But I'm putting them on this list because I don't expect them to fall, but I don't want you to be the person that is the one that makes them not fall. So if you have a high up pick, maybe if you have a pick later in the first round, okay, I could see you taking Jamar. I would probably take Saquon high second round because I worry about his health. But if you have one of the first 4 or 5 picks, I would stay away from these two guys. I think they're going to be at the top of their positions, but not where they were last year. And I think there's better people that you can get at that top because, like I said, we don't really see people repeating that number 1 season 2 years in a row. So I think they're both going to be great, but I would stay away from them. And then last on my bearish list, it's going to be James Cook. Now, James Cook, interesting stat. He was tied in the league with Derrick Henry and Gibbs for the most touchdowns in the league last year. 3 more touchdowns than Saquon. So he had 3 more touchdowns than the number 1 running back in the league last year. And depending on what app or what rules you had, he was probably ranked around 10th for the running back position. So that's not a good recipe for me to have faith in him. If you have the most rushing touchdowns in the entire league, you're tied with 2 other guys, and you're 10th, around 10th in your position, I'm not confident about him this year. You just can't expect him to have that many touchdowns. I mean, not that it's anything against him, but it's just, like I said, that people don't repeat their same amazing year every year after year after year. So I would say James Cook is probably not going to get that many amount of touchdowns again, and a big part of his points came from those touchdowns. So without those touchdowns, I really don't see him being anywhere close to where he was last year, and he was still around 10 last year. So I would wait to get James Cook at a later round. Depending on where he falls, he might be a good pick for you, but I could see him maybe around 4 or 5, depending on the league size. But there's a lot of running backs I would like more than him, like Chase Brown, Kyron Williams. I know people aren't too confident about him, but Kyron Williams, and there's a bunch of other guys who I'll be talking about in my bullish video, players I would like to pick. Thank you so much for supporting the Sandbar Playbook. My name is Aidan Agizio. If you want to watch another video, you can click here. If you want to subscribe, you can click right here. So thank you so much. Make sure you comment what you thought, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.